All right, let me get everyone checked in. Looks like we have, is it Aaron Grubb? Is that right? If you could unmute for me. Just want to make sure everything's working properly before we get started.
Yes, sir.
All right, and you are the applicant on the project, is that right? Don
Yeah.
Community.
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm the building coordinator for the Career Center. So
Got it. Okay. Is Don, is that right, or is it Don?
Don, it is
Don.
correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
All right. Welcome. Trey, you with us?
I'm waiting for some other people. Hopefully I know they were struggling trying to get in. So
Okay. Let me see if Trey Sheldon is on. Trey, are you with us here? Looks like Trey's having some technical difficulties. Trey, we can't hear you or see you, just so you know, if you can hear us. Let's see. Mr. Grubb, I don't see anyone in the waiting room. I typically, as soon as someone comes in there, I'll let them in. So is this something you wanted to wait for them before we started, or because I'm happy to do that. I have time, but if you want, we could also get started too before they get here. It's sort of up to you.
could I wait just a minute or two? I'm going to resend
Yeah.
the invite to
Mhm.
the building owner, if that's okay,
Sure.
so they can get in, because I know they're trying to get in. So
Sure, yeah. Sometimes a good workaround is, if they have a different device they could use to get on, it works on cell phones.
okay.
So, well, I'll give them a couple minutes to let you communicate with them, and
Okay.
check back in a minute. Looks like Trey needs some time too. So,
Okay.
we'll
Thank
give it
you.
a second. Sure, no problem. Hi, folks. Just going to get everyone checked in here. Looks like I have someone in a purple and yellow office under A Bird. If you could unmute for me. Hi, good morning. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. Getting everyone checked in here. If you could give me your name and who you're representing here today. A Bird. Not sure if she can hear me.
I'm Texer. I'm Dewan Marion. I'm Transportation Director for Don High School.
Okay.
I'm having audio issues. I'm going to have to sign in and sign back out, or sign out and sign back in.
Okay. Looks like we have two people that I cannot hear because they're muted. Hi, if you could each give me your name. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner. I'll be conducting the hearing today. If you could each give me your name and who you're representing.
Jim Chuccio and Richard Ferguson, 2900 Investments. We're the building owners.
Okay. And I got the Jim Chuccio. What is the other name?
Richard Ferguson.
Okay. All right, welcome.
Thank
Just getting everyone checked in. Looks like we had a couple technical difficulties here, so just trying to
That's called
troubleshoot those now.
That's called operations.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get through it. Okay, April, are you with us? If so, if you could unmute.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. April, can you give me your last name?
MacArthur, MCARTHUR.
Okay, and are you with Don as well?
Yeah, I'm an operations supervisor over the career centers for Don.
Okay, great. Welcome. Looks like Trey is with us now as well. Trey, you there?
I sure am. So I had to reboot the computer. It was doing something strange. So
Yeah. Had a few difficulties here as we got started, but let's go ahead and do it. So I started our recording. All these recorded kept on file in the city. I also started our stream. These are public hearings. We stream them so that folks from the public can observe if they would like. I need to, now that everyone is checked in, I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So this is the July 26, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I will preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20230109. That's 2900 Gilbert Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. I know we have a number of people here on behalf of either the school or the property owners. So I'll allow you all to orient that presentation however you would like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak, really however you all want to do it to best inform me about the project, any background you think is important, and of course, why you think the requested relief is appropriate and why I should grant it. If there were anyone here from the public, I would then go to them. It doesn't appear that there is anyone, but if someone joins us from the public, I'll allow them to provide any testimony. I'll then go to Trey Sheldon, the zoning plans examiner for the city of Cincinnati. I'll allow him to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, I will allow the applicant to respond to that testimony and or argument that was offered in opposition, and then allow you to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, as we've already seen, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. To the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you are off mute, I need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Who will be taking the lead here on the presentation?
I think
I'll be taking the lead on this one.
Okay, floor is yours.
Awesome. So Down Community High School leased this building from 2900 Investments back last year. Been going through some zoning and other issues with the city, kind of getting those all finalized. The issue that arose with the final issue that has come to fruition is the 97 parking spots that we are needing to run the facility and to progress with construction. So we've worked diligently with all teams on all sides to try to get some relief. The building is going to be used as a career center for all Don students that we have enrolled in our program, specifically the high school age. So we'll have 8 different trades ranging from construction trades all the way to culinary arts and whatnot. So it's giving us an opportunity to meet not only the requirements from the Ohio Department of Education that just came through last year, but to also give these children that are, or the kids that are enrolled in the school an opportunity to earn a skilled trade and to be able to go into the workforce automatically, whether it be working with Cincinnati or whoever. So.
Okay. Great. Yeah. I have some questions, but I'll let, if anyone else wanted to speak, I'll let them provide any testimony now.
I would like to speak on the students that we serve and the need for parking spaces. I have been with Don Community High School for 10 years. In that 10 years, the population that Don Community High School serves, 97% of our students fall at or below the poverty rate. When we did a survey last year of students who drove to school, out of 1,600 students, we had 4 that drove to school with and they have to provide us with their driver's license, proof of insurance, in order to be able to drive to school and park on school property. Out of 1,600 students across 10 buildings, we had 4 drivers who drove to school on a regular basis. The building that we are anticipating around a 200 student enrollment in 2,900 Gilbert. Out of that, we anticipate possibly one student driver out of those 200 students. Mr. Marion, who is on, he can speak to our transportation, but our students 99.5% of our students rely on either public transportation or Don's transportation to get to and from school.
Okay, great. And just to double check on a couple of numbers, you said 200 students will be enrolled at this particular campus?
Goal. That is our goal enrollment. As of right now, I believe we have 30 students enrolled in the program we're just like getting our wheels under us.
Gotcha.
So,
and what's the maximum capacity that you could enroll at this particular site?
Mr. Grubbs,
I don't think we've got a maximum capacity. I think the goal is 200. I don't think we're trying to go over 200 at the time.
max capacity around 200.
So
Okay.
right now, currently, out of those 30 students that are enrolled, we are transporting all 30 of those students to that building.
Okay.
Well, to their temporary home. They're currently building.
Okay. And so are you, I'm just thinking, because this approval will run with the property as long as you're using it for this particular type of personal instructional services use. And so I'm wondering if there is a possibility that enrollment could go beyond 200, and if so, by how much?
I think we'll put a limitation, though. I think we'll have a waiting list in line for students that are enrolled, and that's how we'll be able to keep track of that number. That way we don't go over top that number. So I think a waiting list will be in place.
Gotcha.
That way we don't
Gotcha.
exceed that number.
So you guys don't have the capacity to go above 200, is that what you're saying?
That's what we're saying, yes.
Okay, got it. All right, great. Mr. Marion, did you want to add anything else on the transportation piece?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Ms. MacArthur, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ferguson or Cuccio?
Yes. Just to give you a very brief historical, I'm the founder of Jim Nettie Baking Company, and we moved to that structure in 1990. And at the time we moved in, we had about 45 employees. At our peak, we had 75 employees, 12 vehicles that we were delivering with. We were also distributing for a New York bakery, doing all the Burger Kings in the tri-state region. And we also opened in 1992, we opened a restaurant in the front area. So we were operating that in connection with the restaurants. We had 75 employees and restaurant customers coming in and going. And the parking we had was more than sufficient. The street parking would turn over very quickly. And our side parking took care of all of our trucks and employees. So at our, like I said, at our peak, we had more people than they're talking about. And again, our employee base was local. So most of them were either on bus transportation or some sort of public transportation as opposed to vehicles. Most of the parking we used was our own trucks that we used, and then people would come, drivers would come in and then take them and go. So we just never had any problems with it at all. And especially with the street, there's so much street parking around our building on that side of Chapel and all the way down this front of Thompson McConnell, or now it's Cincinnati Cadillac. The only problem we ever had was when the place across the street would have overflow. What's it called?
Easter seals.
Easter seals. They outgrew their facility and they're now fixing that. But that was the only issue we ever had, was they would spill over to our parking and block us out. But that's not been a problem since they've now acquired the Y behind them, and they're taking care of that. So we feel like there's sufficient area parking for sure.
Gotcha. Could you talk a little bit more about what the actual parking, what the parking is right now, the parking situation for the property? Where do people park, and how many parking spots does the property accommodate?
Aaron, I can't remember the number of parking spaces right off the top of my head on the side.
I know the architects had calculated 20 parking spots total.
That's off street. Yeah,
Right.
we own the lot next to our building as well, and that's where the striped parking lot is, and that's approximately 20 parking spaces there. Along with there's 9 or 10 directly in front of the building that are not metered, unmetered parking spaces. So you could call it 30 parking spaces are available without interfering with anything or anyone.
Then you look on Chapel, which is the south side of the building. Street parking there, I would imagine, is at least 8. And then
Alongside the building. Yeah.
alongside the building.
Mhm.
And then there is a back driveway and loading docks that can be used for parking too. So we have 3 docks on the property on the back. So and we had 20-foot trucks in the
semis.
spots, and semis pulling in there. So
Okay. Will the 20 off, or will the 20 spots they're technically off site, right? Because you said it's different property. So will that be a parking lease that's going to be executed?
They've already leased that. It's
Okay.
part of this whole lease. We own both lots, but it's just separate parcels. But we lease them those spaces as part of their master lease.
and that
Okay.
parcel is right next to the building. It's on the north side of the building.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Great. Anything else from the owners?
I would just say Jim and I became business partners in '97. We bought the building in 2002. Jim and I have always been extremely engaged with the Walnut Hills development. And when Doan approached us and Jim was getting tired of baking, we thought it was a great fit for the neighborhood and for education that is needed desperately through the city. So
We were approached by numerous things, marijuana factories and all kinds of things that we didn't necessarily think were a benefit to the community. We were very pleased with what they presented and within their use of the property. So
and as a long-term leasing for us,
Yes.
what was very attractive. And in some ways, I mean, I don't want to, in some ways, giving back to the community that honestly has been very good to our baking company for a long time. So
Okay, great. Speaking of community engagement and the Walnut Hills Redevelopment Fund, has there been any communication with Walnut Hills Community Council or Redevelopment Fund about this particular project or request?
not by us.
not by us.
Not
Okay.
by us either.
I think that Don, this would be our 4th location within the Walnut Hills area. We have a really good working relationship with the Walnut Hills Business District and they support our students. We we try to keep as much of our business local to that neighborhood as we can. We frequent Beck's Hardware. So this is just another add-on for Dawn in this community. Dawn started in Walnut Hills in 2001, and we have grown. Our second location opened in Walnut Hills. While we have grown out of Walnut Hills, we're centrally located in this neighborhood.
Okay. Last question. How many faculty and staff will there be at this campus?
I'm calculating 10 to 12.
Okay. Got it. All right. I am going to move over and give Trey Sheldon an opportunity. If you'd like to provide any testimony, Trey.
Yes, I would. First of all, kind of as a threshold matter, as to the use, David, the reason it ended up having to be characterized as or defined as a personal instructional services use is because the building permit submitted by Childress and Cunningham on the application cover sheet and in the body of some of the drawings and so on listed this as beyond high school. And so in the event that I think for building code reasons and other things, I went back and forth with them about this when I first had issued a denial letter, because it couldn't be a college. It's not even a permitted use here. And vocational schools are a permitted use in this district. And I don't know whether any of these folks can speak to it after I'm finished speaking, but I do want to point out that if these were 100% all just high school students and that wasn't submitted in the building permit that could extend beyond high school, then you'd have a much lower threshold for even the parking that would need to be provided. I put that in my staff report because if it's a
Do you know what it is? Is the number if it was high school?
Yes,
is that in your staff?
I'm trying to, yes, it's in my staff report and I'm speaking to that right now. Instead of the ratio of parking that we have here based on square footage, when you have certain schools like a high school or a college, something other than just a vocational, but a specific school, you have the ratio changes from square footage to number of seats. So it would be 1 to every 30 seats if it was for a high school. So the actual application drawings show occupancy loads for rooms. That's just how building code works. So, but I imagine that based upon the number of classrooms that I basically saw, that the number would be far lower than this 97 required. I mean, there aren't that many classrooms. So for example, if you have 10 classrooms and they each have 30 seats in them, you'd only need 10 cars or 10 parking spaces. Does that make sense?
Yes.
My hands were just kind of tied because the building permit and the application part said could extend beyond high school and it can't then be defined specifically as high school students. But I just want to, I think it's an important point, David, here, because if 90% of these folks these students are going to be high school students, then effectively you'd have a different ratio here. But I couldn't, they don't have everybody enrolled. They only have 30 people enrolled. So I had no way of having a lens of looking at that, except I'm trying to express it to you now that if most of these folks are high school students, it would be a much lower parking threshold, at a 1 to 30 seats ratio. So
Gotcha.
That's the first kind of point I want to make, because just upon my ballpark estimation, you'd needed 1/5 or something, or maybe even less, the number of parking spaces as is required for a personal instructional services, which might include a very dense place like a yoga studio or something that was filled with people so that's how it had to be lumped, because it includes vocational services. So
Sure.
I was kind of stuck, if you will, having to give it this definition of the use based upon the permitting. So I just wanted to explain that to everybody. Then the other points I guess I'd like to make, we've already affirmed that the reason they needed the relief total for this is that the 20 spots are on a different parcel that is also controlled by the owner of the property. And so it's happening in the form of a lease that goes hand in hand with the lease of the building. So those are kind of umbilically connected. So I don't think there'll be any issue there. Then just to what both Mr. Marion and Miss MacArthur spoke to. I have that in my staff report as well. The figures differ a little bit depending on the years, but basically very few of these folks, students drive at all. And so they're either being, they're either, I think 95 point or 90% of them, upper 90s are actually being transported here by the Don's transportation system. And then some may end up either walking because they're local or taking a bus or being dropped off by parents, but they presented some fairly solid numbers indicating across the board with their student body that they typically do not drive their own car. And lastly, just confirming that they'll only have 10 to 12 staff, and there should be abundant parking there. And lastly, that there is indeed a substantial loading dock. I can't count that for parking, right, for this parking issue, but there is substantial space in the back of the building, as the gentleman, the owners of the land indicated. There's room for semi trucks back there in that loading bay. So if they were ever to have things delivered for the cafeteria or for the food thing, those will all be back there. They won't take up parking spaces either on the street or back in the parking lot. And if they ever have some kind of large event where they need, some of the things being delivered, large box trucks, there'll be plenty of room for them in the back.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, Trey. So the way that the zoning office calculated this, the amount of parking spaces necessary, did it exclude the spaces that are going to be provided by the off-street parking lease? In other words, is 97 the total that they need?
That's correct.
For this property?
Correct.
Okay, so they had zero counted towards that 97 in this application.
Because it's on site. It's on site parking technically. Right. I know it's a technicality, but it's a separate parcel under a lease. You've seen these situations, multiple times before. So I had the the strict letter of the law. I had to go, hey, you need 97, although they do have 20, immediately adjacent.
And you couldn't count any of the loading dock portions either for the parking, right?
It's not striped parking for cars. It's loading docks, as the gentleman stated. It's bread trucks used to come in, delivery trucks used to come in there, things to take their hamburger buns out, and when they needed, presumably you gentlemen could speak to it, but presumably when you needed flour and yeast and salt and stuff brought in, you'd have a big truck like a semi backing in there doing a delivery to the facility. So that's what it's set up for. So it's not really it's not set up for parking, and I can't count it for that.
Sure. Regardless of the fact that they could technically use it for parking if they would like.
Oh, sure, you could.
Yeah, got it. Cool. All right, thanks, Trey. Appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report. Back to the applicants. Owner, anything you wanted to respond to from Trey, or anything else you guys wanted to say in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
No, I think he's captured it.
No, sir.
Okay, great. Yep. Let's leave it at that then. I haven't had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. Based on that and the testimony I've heard here today, I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision that typically takes about 2 weeks, as I mentioned at the beginning. I do have a pretty substantial number of variance requests that are in right now, and so I think 2 weeks is probably a realistic expectation. I'll do everything I can to get it out to you as soon as possible, but summer months are pretty busy for us over here. So if you have any questions or you want a status update on the decision, just let me know and I will I can give you an update on that. As soon as I finish the decision, I put it into a PDF. I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today, so you'll have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that email, Trey can approve the zoning permitting on his end, and so that's all he's sort of waiting for at this point. And again, once you have that, he can move forward, and hopefully you guys can take the next steps.
Thank you very much.
Any questions at all?
So we can go ahead and start with getting the plumbing and electrical permits going. I mean, obviously it can't get approved until we get the letter from both you and Trey, right?
That's right. Yep.
Just from David, but Aaron, you should follow up with me after the decision is formally issued. Follow up with me because I may be doing a whole bunch of other stuff on that day, or have other hearings, or who knows, things of this nature, or meetings. So there may be a day or two that it takes me to actually flip the switch on the permit, if you will. And then also consider that The customer service at buildings and inspections needs a couple of days once they've gotten in, assuming that all the other departments have approved, and I haven't checked. You'd need to track that, make sure that you've got everything from, MSD and Waterworks and all the other departments all satisfied.
Yeah,
Um,
they're all
they're all good?
approved, sorry. The
Okay.
only one that was conditionally approved was Cincinnati Waterworks, but everything else is approved besides the zoning, so.
Super. Okay.
Great.
Well, anyhow, customer service will need a couple of days. So give
Okay.
a thought to before you can actually pick the permit up. It may be 4 or 5 business days from the time of the decision issue. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, sir.
All righty.
Appreciate all your help.
Right.
Well, you're welcome.
Thanks, guys. If you have any questions in the meantime, just feel free to reach out to me or to Trey, and I'm sure we'd be happy to answer those. So have a great day. Good luck with the school. We are adjourned.